Bullies threw the new teacher into mud, then she showed them a hidden black belt isn't fake. The morning sun hung brightly above Ridgeview High, but its warmth never reached the ground where the new teacher knelt, trembling, covered in mud. What had been a hopeful first day had turned into a nightmare within minutes. Her lesson plans were soaked, her clothes ruined, and the laughter of the bullies who shoved her into the wet dirt echoed across the courtyard like a cruel reminder that kindness was a rare currency here. No one helped her stand. No one spoke up for her. And for the first time in a long time, Mara Elliston wondered if she had made a mistake coming to this school. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. It helps more than you know. Mara took a slow, shaky breath, wiped mud from her cheek, and placed the broken edges of her glasses back on her face. She had promised herself she wouldn't run from challenges anymore, no matter how ugly they appeared. But the sting of humiliation pressed deeper than the mud staining her clothes. Just moments before, when she had stepped through those gates, she had imagined students smiling, maybe a welcoming greeting from a teacher, a feeling of belonging. Instead, she was reminded of why she had left her old town, why she had worked years to rebuild her courage, because cruelty often strikes hardest at the people who least expect it. Ridgeview High was known for academics, sports, and unfortunately, a notorious group of seniors led by a boy named Crowley Vance. He carried himself like someone who believed the whole block belonged to him. And when Mara walked in, young, quiet, unfamiliar, they decided she was the perfect target to test. They didn't expect her to fight back. They didn't know she could. They didn't know the calmness in her eyes hid a skill earned from years of relentless training, of pushing her body and spirit through storms of pain and discipline. But that wasn't how she wanted to prove herself. She wanted to teach, not fight. She wanted to build trust, not fear. She wanted to heal, not break. And yet, as she slowly pushed herself to her feet, she knew something had shifted inside her. She wasn't going to allow these bullies to define her first day, or the days after. She carried herself into the school building, leaving muddy footprints behind her, each step heavy but determined. She walked past students pretending not to look, their eyes filled with curiosity and silent guilt. Mara could see it clearly, they had seen the bullying before. They were used to it. Some feared being next, some hoped not to draw attention, and some just accepted it as normal. But Mara had never been the type to accept cruelty as normal. In the teacher's lounge, she washed her hands and arms, trying to steady her breathing. She gazed at her reflection, mud-streaked, glasses cracked, hair messy from the fall, and felt a familiar ache rise in her chest. Memories of her father teaching her martial arts in their small backyard flickered in her mind. He had told her there would be days she would fall face first into the dirt, and that getting up was the part that mattered. Her father wasn't here anymore, but the lessons he left behind lived inside her bones. She cleaned herself as best as she could, pulled her hair back into a neat bun, and returned to her classroom before the first bell rang. Students entered with whispers floating in the air. Some looked sympathetic, others amused, but no one said anything. Crowley and his crew passed the door, giving her a mocking grin that tightened her stomach. Mara forced herself to stay calm. She couldn't let anger steer her day. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. As the day progressed, she taught with patience and resilience. Even with her clothes still damp and her glasses uneven, she carried a quiet strength. Some students gradually softened, responding to her gentle encouragements, her relatable stories, her genuine smile. She saw a few walls lowering. She saw possibility. But she also sensed eyes watching from shadows. The bullies weren't finished. After school, Mara remained in the empty courtyard, picking up supplies for an after-class activity she had planned. She wanted to help students find their inner confidence, but she didn't expect a test of her own confidence to strike so soon. As she bent to pick up a box, she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy, purposeful, familiar. Crowley and his group approached, forming a circle around her. Their laughter returned, meaner than before. Crowley shoved the box from her hands and kicked it aside. The papers scattered like feathers fleeing danger. "So, Miss Karate Kid," Crowley sneered, "heard you've got some moves. But today, you didn't look like much." Mara straightened her back, reminding herself not to react with instinct. She spoke softly, with the dignity she refused to lose. She told them bullying only showed fear, not strength. That kindness demanded courage. That they didn't need to treat people this way to feel powerful. Her words only fueled their desire to provoke her. Crowley lunged forward, shoving her shoulder. She stumbled but didn't fall. Another boy tried to push her again, testing her balance. They wanted her to cry, panic, beg, anything that proved their dominance. But Mara's breathing remained steady. Her father's voice echoed, "Control is not in your fists. It's in your mind." Crowley reached for her wrist, intending to spin her into another humiliating fall. That was the moment her restraint ended, not out of anger, but out of refusal to be harmed again. With lightning precision, she shifted her weight, pivoted, and in one fluid motion executed a wrist lock so clean and controlled that Crowley gasped in shock, dropping to one knee. She didn't hurt him, just immobilized him. His friends froze, disbelief plastered across their faces as they watched the soft-spoken teacher turn into a force they had underestimated. She released Crowley the moment he stopped resisting, stepping back with calm dignity. They expected rage. They received composure. Mara didn't boast. She didn't smirk. She didn't threaten. She simply said, in a steady voice carried by years of discipline, that respect was a two-way street, and bullying was a choice they no longer had the privilege of making in her presence. The boys retreated, shaken and confused. For the first time, they saw strength not as violence, but as control. They scattered, leaving Crowley breathing heavily, his pride cracked open like a shell finally revealing something human inside. He didn't apologize, not yet, but his eyes flickered with something new, awareness. That evening, word spread quickly across the school. Not as gossip, but as quiet awe. The new teacher who had been shoved into the mud had stood tall, unbroken, and unexpectedly powerful. Some students who had lived in fear of the bullies now felt a spark of courage. The next morning, Mara walked into school with the same gentle smile, her clothes clean, her steps confident. Students greeted her with nods of respect. A few whispered, "Good morning, Miss Elliston," and she felt warmth fill her heart. She wasn't here to fight. She was here to change something, to break a cycle. Crowley avoided her for days. But Mara noticed him watching her teach from afar, confused and thoughtful. One afternoon after school, he lingered near her classroom door, shifting awkwardly. He mumbled something about needing help in English, that he wasn't good at writing essays. Mara realized then that his bullying wasn't born of arrogance alone, it came from insecurity buried under years of pretending. She invited him to sit. She guided him through his struggles. She treated him like a student, not a monster. And that small act, unexpected kindness instead of punishment, began softening walls that fists never could. Slowly, Crowley changed. He apologized eventually, quietly, genuinely. He stood up for a freshman being harassed one morning. He joined a club. His friends followed him, no longer bullies but boys trying to find their place in something healthier. The school shifted, almost imperceptibly at first, then undeniably. Mara became more than a teacher, she became a reminder that strength isn't shown by throwing someone into the mud, but by helping them rise from it. And that is why, months later, during a school assembly, when students spoke about the most influential person they had met that year, Mara Elliston's name echoed through the hall. She didn't stand on the stage. She didn't take credit. She simply sat with her hands folded, eyes warm, heart full, grateful she didn't give up that first day. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share the video. Your support helps Kindness Corner continue spreading hope and inspiration. Special request. Comment, rise above, if you believe kindness can break cycles of cruelty.